Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Marcus and TC Discussions coming at you with my first place locals ST-14 Luffy deck profile. Um, I'm really excited to bring this profile to you guys for a number of reasons. Number one, this is like probably my favorite black deck to play right now. It's really strong. Addition of Jack fits very, very nicely in this deck. But number two, it offers a variety and different style of play for black, which I think is really good while being anti-black. So now the Lucci matchup is finally solved. We have a leader that does really well basically into everybody, while simultaneously having very, very powerful plays constantly throughout the game with great tempo and removal, even if it is considered at times 1-for-1, and people don't like really understand what can happen. This deck has incredible removal aspects to it that I think you just can't really beat right now. And we'll kind of talk about what we play, why we play it, okay? So let's get into the profile, and then we'll talk about matchups at the end. So for those of you who don't know, are maybe new to the leader, this is the ST-14 Black Luffy. It's actually really funny because the first deck in tournament that I ever played was the original Black Luffy starter deck. And so this guy is like, it's like a resurgence and a new home for me. But he has a really amazing effect. So Dawn ×1, if all of your cards get +1 cost, and then if you have a card with 8k, 8 cost or more on the board, he gains 1000 power. Now, there are two things to note about this. That lasts as long as the Dawn is on him. So this means if you have like an 8 or higher cost after you attach a Dawn to him, that means as long as that card remains on the board, you will essentially have a 6k leader through your opponent's turn, which is really, really powerful. Being a 5-life leader, having the 2ks that we do, and simultaneously having that just defense for 5k swings to not ping our hand is immaculate. On top of that, raising the cost of all our cards is extremely good against blue and black. This is very, very powerful against Gravity Blade with what we play, and also simultaneously extremely strong into black, the entire color of black itself. Now all of their numbers are increased by 1 to have to reduce, and this can throw off a lot of play lines that they have, or tax their hand for more reduction, or just flat out make the reduction that they have not enough. And this affects game plans across the board. It doesn't really affect them when they have like Ice Age Helmeppo, like I mean, that's an 8 reduction to everything. So this is just really strong. But it does, in fact, matter quite a lot with other effects. So like I said, with Gravity Blade, our 5 costs, Sanji's can become a 7 if we have stage, meaning that Gravity Blade cannot touch them. This is also really good against Robin. Robin becomes an 8 cost. And when she's an 8 cost, that means they're not going to Gravity Blade him, and literally it's like trying to hit Gekka-Moria. Gekka-Moria becomes 9, Isha becomes 9, Jack becomes 12. So this means for black it's extremely hard to get rid of. And so the leader effect is very, very good. Like, make no mistake, this is probably one of the strongest leaders in the game. He has several positive matchups. We'll talk a little bit about that probably in another video. When I go back to the tier list, we're going to do a tier list revamp after a couple of tournaments. We're going to do like a little mini tournament report. We're going to talk about that in comparison to my tier list and see how like my tier list stacked up, which for the record, it did really well. So just about every single deck that was top tier besides like a Null that I said was S tier, topped. So as top so far. So I feel very good about that. But all that to say, this leader among them is also topped. He has a lot of potential. He is very, very strong. He does feel a little bit bricky at times, but also simultaneously, when you see what you need to see, he feels very, 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 very good. So Yeah, let's get into it. So to let's put these on camera instead of off camera. So to start off with our starter cards, we play 2,000 Sunny and 4 Brenu. Okay, so these are the cards that we want to see turn 1. A lot of people are cutting this card from list. All of the top 16 lists I've seen do not play this card. That to me is a mistake. And I'm not saying that I'm better than the people who've got top 16, but that, in my personal opinion, is a mistake for 2 reasons. Number 1, this card replaces itself. And this, if they make you go first, you can still do something. Number 2, this card facilitates your entire game plan for your Straw Hats in the deck, which is extremely, extremely strong into the mirror against blue, like I said earlier. And this is what kind of makes some of our cards a lot more stickier than they could be. Otherwise, Sanji could get Gravity Bladed. Otherwise, and it would be a lot better, right? So this is just very, very good. Even if you like have an extra Dawn on the turn to do something, you can still draw a card. And like I said, it replacing itself is very good. Discard effects for Sabo. If the card is already on the board, you can pitch it with Sabo. It's not like it's hard to get rid of. If you don't see it, you're basically sticking to the same game plan that everybody else is already playing. So why not play the card? I think that the card does a lot for you, gives you that early start draw. And then Breno, of course, not a lot to say about him. 2 Dawn, Navy Searcher, we play a lot of Navy cards, so that pretty much wraps it up for there. Next, we play 3 Kuzan. This card is incredible in this deck, and it is actually necessary in a lot of matchups, believe it or not. So if we take second, we get Brenu, search Kuzan, or have Kuzan in hand, then we play Kuzan down. If you play against Zoro, basically you're not attacking. You don't attack for the first 2 turns. You play Brenu, you play Kuzan. And now they're forced to like hard play cards, which is fine. Because as soon as they do hard play cards and like you swing and they swing, like if they play like a Zoro or something and they swing and they leave a Dawn out for the event, whatever, you basically save the Kuzan, swing back, and then you swing and then play like a KO card or a KO effect on the chopper that they play that gets them more cards. Additionally, you're able to pressure out cards on the board with this Kuzan, which is very, very good. I don't need to explain how broken he is into yellow. I don't need to explain how broken he is everywhere else. The thing that's also incredibly good is if our opponent has dealt us a damage in yellow, they cannot get out to this card if we have a Dawn attached to our leader because he becomes a 5 cost. This is very, 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 very good. So this is just one of the things that I appreciate very much about the card. It allows us to have a little bit more survivability. Same thing against black. Against black, this is a lot harder to remove. Like if they force me to go first, and then I play Kuzan and attach Dawn to leader and swing 6, now he's a 5 cost, and that's a little bit harder for black to get rid of. At 6 Dawn, can they get rid of it? Absolutely. Lucci can still just swing, play Brook, which they're usually doing, but we still drew the card to replace it, so it's very good. Next, 4 of the best blocker in the game, Rebecca. And then 1 of probably the 3rd best blocker. We play 4 Rebecca, 1 Borsalino. Borsalino is a searchable card off Brenu, but he's not the greatest right now for a number of reasons, but we'll talk about that here in a second. But Rebecca is a card you have to play at 4 because we play Brook, which we'll talk about here in a second. And Rebecca is just extremely, extremely strong for getting pieces back. It can search back Jack, it can search back Borsalino, it can search Kuzan, it can search Brook, it can search Sanji out of our trash, fetch it out of our trash for us and give us that play that we need. So it's very, very good. You got to play her at 4. Borsalino, why we play him at 1? Well, we had to make room for Jack number 1. And I was playing 4 Kuzan, and then I cut him down by 1 so that I could have the space for Jack. And then Borsalino was the next card that I liked at cutting. For 2 reasons. While he is standalone extremely good for his effect, he is not good in a number of matchups. For example, Perona, he is not very good into. He can just get rested, whereas Sabo cannot. On top of this, he does not protect the entire board. He only has protection for himself. So this is a little bit more wonky, and he just doesn't generate the value that Rebecca does. So for that reason, we play him at we play him at 1. Additionally, with the effective leader, he becomes a 5 cost. Like Kuzan, he's a little bit more stickier for the trash effects, but with Lucci, they can just still swing out and then trash him. So it's a little bit eh. Brook. This card is a card that you must play it for. There are games where I just don't see this card. I do not understand it. It is a 4 of. I see Rebecca all the time. I see Gecko all the time. I see everything else, but this card just like evades me. It's probably because I talk trash about him in like Luigi deck profiles or something. But 4 cost Brook, 3 cost Brook, sorry. This card is bonkers. This is one of the best cards into Zoro, especially if Kuzan is established. Being able to divvy up Dawn as well as Kuzan swing and then play this card down means that I can swing at a body and remove a standing body. Simultaneously, I'm also able to eventually repeat this if the Kuzan lives, which is, something that sometimes we will protect, sometimes we won't. And then if Kuzan's established and we're playing this card, this means next turn we're going into 8. And hopefully that's where we can get to our Jack or our Gecko. So even if he dies, it's no big deal. But this card has a lot of value. It helps with a minusing. And it can be very, very, very problematic for your opponent. So definitely one of the best cards, both for the reduction help and for the KO. This deck needs it a lot more than Lucci does, for sure. Whereas this card feels a lot better also because of our leader in our stage. He becomes a 5 cost, so he's a little bit more sticky than he was before against black specifically. And then simultaneously, whereas the value Gecko play is in Lucci is Gecko, Rebecca, Suru, and not Suru, but Helmeppo into Lucci. Our line is our same KO line with whatever junction number of reduction that we have, whether that be Robin on the board or whether that be our Ice Ages, is now Gecko, Suru, Rebecca, Brook. And so we get 4 bodies instead of 5, but we still get 4 bodies, which is really nice. Next, we play 2 Sanji. This is a card that I kind of wish was at 3, but to be honest with you, at 2, I feel like I see him quite often. There was a game the other day where I just could not stop drawing no counter. I thought for sure I was going to lose the game, and then I ended up winning, which was crazy. And we'll talk about the matchups that I played to win locals with this at the end. But this card is incredible. Number 1, this is another reason why stage is super important, because at 5 Dawn, if they make you go first, if you played stage turn 1 or turn 2, you can in fact play Sanji and he will get his effect, which is really, really good. He's a 5/6 that KOs a 5 or less. And he does have no counter. But with stage and your leader effect, as I was alluding to before, he becomes a 7. This is massive because it means they cannot gravity blade him to the bottom of the deck. Blue cannot do that. And as long as that happens, they are in a world of problems because I can just counter crack at all their cards with the Sanji. With 1 Dawn, he becomes a 7, so it's going to take 2 cards out of their hand, and then it just kind of spirals and goes downhill. We win this war of attrition, and then we eventually win the game with our big plays and big bodies. Our next 5 Dawn card is Sabo. We play 3 of him. We see this card enough. It's still probably one of the best blockers in the game. Reason that we play 3 of him, though, is purely because we needed to make space for Jack. Jack is probably the most important card for this deck that has come out so far in terms of support. Jack really sets the tone for what this deck wants to do. And you can't make up how broken Jack is with this leader. For example, the leader makes him a 12, so if black didn't already have enough issues, they literally cannot really, it's so difficult for them to get over the card. Secondly, on top of it, on top of that, we need to get to KOs and we need to set up our trash, and basically make Jack more efficient by bringing back a Suru or playing down some other kind of counter, and then having like Robin maybe on the board or an Ice Age. But what breaks everything is for sure if you can Sabo blocker after establishing the Jack. So if I get Sabo into the trash, I can then bring it back with Rebecca at 9 Dawn, and then I can play him again, and then literally the board is completely unbreakable, going from 7 to 9. And then following this, which you just wouldn't rest the Jack unless there's like something that you super need to KO. Following this card also protects Robin from being able to be KO'd, so this is like really, really good. On top of it, the card is filter. We do play quite a bit of non-counter, so we can filter some of the dead cards out of our hand. So Sabo just kind of like does everything. He's protection, he's that filter, and he is that extra stall piece to get us to our late game. And yeah, and then his ability to protect Jack is just absolutely crazy. And then he helps us like set stuff up like the Brook or whatever for Jack, or the Suru in the trash for Jack if we don't counter out. Next, 3 Nico Robin. This is from the structure deck. On play and when attacking, if there's a character with a cost of 8 or more, give it to one of your opponents -5. So there are 2 things to heavily note about this card. The first is that with Stage and Leader Dawn attached, this card will be -5. That is a walking Ice Age. Okay, that I'm going to repeat what I just said. With Stage and 1 Dawn attached to Leader, this card is a walking Ice Age. It is a 6/7, so really, really powerful. And if Jack is already on the board, you can basically get rid of a 10 cost if you have some other form of reduction. If you have her and a Suru in hand already, and Jack is on the board, they will lose whatever 10 cost they play. And then when you swing, all this it's going to take is maybe an Ice Age or something else, and then Jack kills it. So the card is completely bonkers. It's snapped. We played it 3 specifically to see it within the game. It's one of our good mid-game pieces. And it's very nice that she has counter. If this card was a non-counter card, it would be a little bit iffy. But yeah, and then obviously she has high amounts of synergy with Sanji, being able to then just outright KO that 5 cost, that 10 cost as well if her reduction is hit. Next for Jack, I finally got my 2 alt arts, guys. So we finally have the set. Thank you, my man Vic. But Jack, not a lot to say about this card other than how completely snapped he is. It's probably the best card in black right now. I mean, I'm just going to say that it's the best card in black. If you, for what he does, and the fact that he draws a card and pitches a card and rests himself to KO it through it, like the rest to KO it through it less and the cost increase would be good enough. But the draw filter, like the Sakazuki effect on top of this card, stupid. It's so stupid. There's matchups for if you get multiple of these on the board, like Sora, for example, they can't win the game anymore. And then given whatever else is on the board, if you have a Nico Robin, an Ice Age in hand, you have a Suru, you have whatever, low to high, everything dies to him. He is very, very good. You know, this is one of those cards that I don't think is going anywhere unless they put it on the ban list or something for a very long time. This is going to become a staple boon for black. Jack is very, 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 very good. And especially in this leader, being able to, one, make him a 12 cost against black is as if 11 wasn't already daunting. Like 12 is just awful for them to deal with. And then to make matters worse, right? As if it can't get any worse than that. You know, even if they get rid of it, you know, you still got a value. You drew a card, you probably popped a card. I mean, there's just so much, and then you set up your gecko. And then the other cool thing is that at 8 Dawn, if you get second curve, you can Ice Age and use this effect in the same turn, which means an 8 cost or lower is dead, which for the record, 7 is the, like, unless there's some kind of cheat effect, 7 is the highest card that they're going to be able to play at that point. And so it's extremely strong. It's just extremely strong. It is one of my absolute favorite cards. Can't sing enough praises about it. Literally came up every game, and it's come up every single game since I have played. Part of the reason he comes up is because he helps me draw this card a lot more. Gecko Moria. It is obvious why we would play this card. Like I said, Rebecca Suru into Brook is crazy. If we have the other reduction in hand to go along with this Gecko, something is going to die. Even if we have we have to divvy up the reduction, say Suru puts a 5 cost in range for Jack, gets rid of it, Ice Age, something else, we can still KO 2 cards, which is very, very powerful. And Jack is the massive enabler among all of it. But Gecko is a little bit worse in this than Lucci for sure. But he still has strong plays. Putting Rebecca on the board is still strong. They have to answer the Brook. If they don't, it's a problem. They have to get rid of him as well. And he seems like low on the top priority totem compared to this card. And being able to establish this card, get value, and then for the following turn Ice Age something, or play this, get a value play, and then technically, if you think about it, Brook and Suru in this deck are technically a -3 to a card, so a 6 cost can still die to your Jack, which is very, very good. This is not including if Robin's on the board. This would mean that yeah, anything dies to Jack. The only thing that I think, what would it be? If it was Robin, 8 of 12, you'd still need one more Dawn if you were playing the mirror and they had a Dawn attached to the leader. And the great thing about both of these is that it enables the effect for our leader to be a 6K. And then the other thing that's really great about that is because it's Dawn X1, and I didn't mention this earlier, we also get to swing for 7 on our turn. So offensively, we're 7, and defensively, offensively minimum, we're 7 with a Dawn attached. And then defensively, we get to be the 6. Next, to Isho. This card is insane. It's also searchable. This is one of the cards that when I saw Jack, I immediately wanted to play with him. I know in my Lucci video, I talked about Isho's time being passed, and I think that's true for Lucci. That's not the case for this deck, however. There are 2 very, very good reasons why you would play Isho in this. Number 1, you need the help. We don't have Tempest Kick, and it's not searchable. Ice Age is searchable, which is nice. We could put Tempest Kick in here, but again, I think that's asking a little bit much. Number 2 is that it's flat reduction to the entire board, right? So in tandem with Jack, this is extremely, extremely strong. On top of it's helpful with Brook. If Brook is on the board, this now means 4 costs start dying. And then additionally, with everything else, it makes our reduction with things like Robin basically guaranteed kills on anything. Jack won't even survive anymore. Robin will make it 8. All we need is another simple reduction. It could be Suru. It could, if Isha was established and you attach a Dawn to it. And I've even done things like this. I have Isha'd, attached a Dawn to him immediately after discarding 2 of the cards, played an Ice Age, and then rested Jack to KO a card. So he gets a lot more immediate value. You could still technically do the same thing in Lucci, but Lucci is wanting to always remove cards, whereas this deck is a little bit better at grinding out. Basically, you have to get rid of the cards in Lucci, because if you don't grind out well, it's just not going to end well for you. And so Stussy, I think, is just a lot more better fit. Whereas with this deck, there isn't really anything that you're wanting to KO. Your curve is constantly increasing, and then they're going to attempt to answer that in some way. So if they do answer the cards, you're not going to have you don't have a 1 Dawn Spandam to search a card and then play Stussy, or to search Stussy to play Stussy. Whereas in this deck, you do have brand new, but he searches this card. And so this is our good top end for the Navy, and he is very, very powerful, I think, in just in this deck in general. Helps a lot with the Gecko plays, helps a lot. In addition with Sanji, right? So now an 8 cost dies if Sanji gets played. And so, yeah, we just want to make sure we have the reduction effects. Brook is probably the most consistent KO'er aside from Jack. And so, and Sanji is just basically getting value as soon as the card touches the board. So, yeah, for those reasons, we play 2 Isho. Onto our 2Ks, we play 4 Sewer. This is going to be no surprise. 2 Tashigi, and then 4 T-Bone. T-Bone is crazy because a lot of people just do not understand that this card also is a KO card. On play, you can get rid of a 2 cost or less, which is crazy. Tashigi, she's a searchable 2K. I do see a lot of people play her to the board. I would not. This is not a card that I'm actively looking to play to the board. I would have to have no other way to get rid of a card before I'd play this card. This is probably the absolute last card I'd play. But her being a searchable 2K and having that reduction effect can come up. So for that reason, we play her at 2. And then Suru is just flat out better. She's 1 Dawn instead of that. You probably need it only for the turn. Even if you do get to use her effect, she has to live, and you're not looking to actively defend her unless you're going to, like, you know that you're going to need it. And I just think if you're knowing you're going to need this card, it's going to be a little bit weird. And additionally, the other good thing that I will say about Tashigi is that she can be added back off of Rebecca. So if we have to counter out of like first swing, we can then play Rebecca and then add the card back, which is very nice. We can't do that with Suru, but she can be played off Gecko play while simultaneously playing the Rebecca. So that's nice. And then a lot of value plays to be able to search all these cards because like if you do like Rebecca Branu, you can then easily search a 2K, and then you have 6 2Ks that you can pull from the trash, which is nice. And then our last 4 cards for Ice Age, another searchable card off of Branu. Yeah, this card's crazy. This is a 4 of. I mean, I just don't know. I like it's so good. It's trigger to KO 3 unless it's really relevant against the aggro matchups like Zoro. And then this card is just crazy at getting numbers against like big bodies. So yeah, gotta play 4 of it. I like this list a lot, guys. This is this wraps up the deck. No 6 King pistol to like make things a little bit more consistent and bricky. We're basically I think the deck is just super solid. I have a 2 card difference from what the standard lists are. Some of them play 3 Isho and 4 Kuzan and over 2 stage, right? Some of them play 4 Sanji, 3 Kuzan. That's fine, over 2 stage. At the end of the day, to me, I made the concessions to cut 1 of my Sanji from the original 3 and then 1 Kuzan for those 2 brick slots for 2 other brick slots that facilitate my gameplay and give me an early card and then give me a pitch target off of effects to just either help set up Gecko or Jack. So, yeah. Like if you play Sabo, you're looking to maybe pitch something else. So that's what I mean by that. And then you can also get rid of stage at the same time. So you get rid of a dead card and replace it with hopefully a more valuable card. Let's talk about the matchups. And this is going to be, even though it was 3 rounds, I'd say it was a good sample size. One, we had the breadth of field as well as competition and players. I played buddy of mine, Brad, on Bonnie, round 1. Bonnie is terrible in the black, so she lost. Round 2, played my friend Seth. Oh, dude, the guy is way too good. Like, it's like every single time to get a win against him, I am either A, I'm sweating, or B, I played Reiju and just opened up Porsche GG twice in a row. Shout out to you, Seth. But either way, he was playing BY Luffy, and I didn't think that ST-14 is much different from Lucci, but he kind of is. And this is actually probably something to talk about. ST-14 Luffy, to do what he needs to do, to play the way that he wants to play, does not need cards in the trash. He would like certain cards in the trash, but he doesn't need it. Additionally, Borsalino is extremely strong against. Excuse me. Super tired. Borsalino is extremely strong against BY Luffy. It did not come up particularly there, but this should tell you basically everything you need to know. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that I won the die roll, so I chose to go second and take that away. I'm also going to preface this that he didn't see Gecko until it was like kind of like too late, right? He just didn't see Gecko. When he got to his 10 dawn turn, he had basically one turn to do something. Otherwise, it was going to be pretty bad because when he went into 9 dawn, I basically geckoed and then I geckoed again. He was playing around Isho the entire game, basically. And so he didn't have a lot of cards in hand. So by the time I got to double gecko, the issue that was presented was that for 4 dawn on divvied up among the geckos and 6 dawn attached to leader, I could go 11, 11, 12 with 5 cards in, like it wasn't 5, it was like 3 cards in hand. And then double blocker. And no matter what, okay, because he had to give me the blocker and basically kind of out of everything to win, no matter what, because of board state and the fact that he was in a top deck position, it was impossible for him to win the game. I had 1 life left. He would have had to win off of attacks alone, and the only things that could attack were Garps, and my leader was 6k. This is actually where it comes up quite a lot. So defending is a little bit easier. 5k swings do not just get to take a card out of your hand in the late game, which is very, very good. Additionally, not that BY usually swings for 5 because he doesn't. It's usually 6 or higher. But it does in this situation specifically because the only attacking cards were Garp. He was going to go 775 at me and then basically ask me to have the counter. But I had 2 2Ks and my last life was a 2K. We looked at it after the game. And 775 when I have 2 2Ks and I'm a 6K is not going to get you anywhere. The 5 won't go through, and the 7, even if he splits 6 6 there, it still doesn't matter because I just need 1K counter. So he eventually lost that game with the caveats that it was. But even the Liverpool, the Liverpool finalist players stated that ST-14 is a little bit better than Lucci, and I can tell you why. It's because in order for Lucci to really get cards in the trash, he either needs to C-spam him, C finger gun, or attack. And this is a huge problem. ST-14 Luffy does not need to attack a single card that did not already attack at him in order to get rid of what he needs to get rid of. He just doesn't, or for him to do what he wants to do. Whereas Lucci, that's not the case because Lucci is literally like the trash is a secondary resource for his Gecko plays. And you are incentivized to get those cards in the trash quickly for Gecko, whereas we are not as incentivized. For example, brand new Surge's Isho, which is an extremely powerful card against BY Luffy, right? Being able to rip either 2K counters or Geckos out of their hand, hopefully, or mess up like the Hiyori setup plays or take the Hiyori so that they can do setup plays. But additionally, okay, remember that cost effect on my leader? Well, Shigan gets a little bit funky with just about everything in there. 10 cost Kuzan, while nice, is instantly going to get answered and then like not be relevant while not being able to KO anything because basically everything is going to be 6 or above. Like, that's not broke. Like, there's just going to come a point where like you may have either got rid of a Kuzan or a Brook. Like, those are the only choices. And then you can play just as defensively while building up boards and then swinging with pressure. Like the fact that if you have an 8K on the board, it only takes 3 Dawn attached to your Luffy to even get to 9K to match BY Luffy is very good. It's just more efficient. right? And then it's better on the defensive end. And then I think that it's a little bit easier to play the matchup. I'd probably say that it's increased actually quite a lot in terms of win rate, but it's all about play and what you see. Obviously, if they draw every gecko and have like the double Flampe, uh, 5 cost Luffy, which that's something else I need to talk about. 5 cost Luffy is actually immediately answered by Sanji with a Dawn attached, which is really nice. And then Jack is also very good because for 1 Dawn he becomes 9. And then you know, you have your geckos and Ishos. So yeah. Not a lot to say. And before you're like the player, that player has top 8 at a regional, so he's a lot better than I am, and he's done better and done more than I have. So we will take that win and against probably would be an unfavorable deck versus the kind of deck that I'm playing, especially with no trash. So yeah, we'll take that. And then the last round, I played probably the best blue player. And I thought I was going to lose for sure because, believe it or not, shouts to you, Braden. We had played twice before the tournament started, and I did not win either of those games. The first one was not close. The second one was a little bit more manageable, but game 3, I knew that Ice Age was super important to basically hold for Kaido. And I didn't just have Ice Age, I also had Nico Robin. So Brooke was literally slaughtering everything. It was bad, bro. It was bad. I had stage 2, so like 8-10 Kaido couldn't bounce any Gecko Morias. Jack couldn't get removed. He had to like red rock the Jack, and it was just crazy. It was, excuse me. I'm tired. But it was pretty crazy. And I actually won that one handily. I had 3 life left when he was dying to like Robin, Gecko, and whatever else I had on the board. I don't even really remember. But yeah, it was pretty good. It was a pretty good dub. I was really happy because I was like, man, do not tell me that like Boa hard counters this Luffy. But yeah, it won out. So, and we'll take it because Boa's won a regional and she's topped another, and simultaneously, so that's a good deck. All my testing in the Zoro is I am nearly undefeated against Zoro with this deck. This exact list, I am nearly undefeated. You just have too much removal, and you basically have to play it right. You don't attack their life. You just build your board, let them attack you, counter crack, and then do your thing. And then you're going to be fine. I promise you'll be fine. And then, try to think. Bonnie is Bonnie, but I just have a lot of success with him. I've won most of my Lucci matchups as well. It's a lot easier for us to get rid of Jack because between Robin and Ice Age, it's pretty easy, and Robin's an 8 cost in this. This is also something to kind of talk about with this stage. Against, like I said, against Blue in particular, the stage makes several cards that I didn't realize pretty obsolete. So Josu's being played a lot more, both in VV and in Boa. The other thing that is also being played, obviously a lot in Blue, is Gravity Blade. But gosh, what is it? Shigan. That's the card I'm thinking of, Shigan. So these removal cards against you just get exponentially worse. Your sabos become 6Ks. Like there's no so Shigan will not get rid of them even if there's like a passive attachment to it, right? your Robins or 8Ks. This basically means that Jozu can't touch it, Gravity Blade can't touch it, and this is just super powerful. Usually, I think a lot of the pro players have assessed that the one Dawn +1 increase is enough. But I mean, maybe it's greedy of me to say, but I just think that drawing a card turn 1 is very good while contributing to that same game plan. And so, yeah, for that reason, I think this stage is very, very good. You guys have got to try it out. Wow, this is 40 minutes and I did not expect it to be. So, I guess we did explain a lot of the cards, but that pretty much does it for my first place ST-14 Luffy deck profile. I look forward to playing this deck a lot. I know that I have a lot of grinding to do, so we'll see what we can do and keep at it. Look forward to a first place Calgary deck and the tournament report coming shortly. So thank you guys so much as always for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. And this is Marcus from TCG Discussions signing off. Laters.